Welcome to another 270 Masterclass. Today, a safety assessment methodology, the Flight Operations Safety Assessment, or FOSA. Not something we invented, let's start there. This comes from the ICAO Safety Management Manual and further developed by Eurocontrol. However, in our experience, a very handy tool for both quantitative and qualitative safety assessments. And I just want to discuss a number of the practical points that are necessary. The system definition is the scope. And when determining the scope of a safety study, it's as important to be clear as to what is not included as it is to understand what is in the scope. For example, does this apply only to one type of aircraft, so say Code C aircraft, or do we have a different approach necessary to safety with general aviation aircraft involved in the same system that is being evaluated? The safety criteria that are applied is essentially what is the level of safety, the acceptable level of safety. Many states have yet to determine one. Some states don't have one determined for specific situations. Therefore, in lieu of anything better, at least as safe as today, including growth, is a good starting place. When we come to the later steps where mitigations are considered, don't forget that the ALARP principle, as low as reasonably possible or practicable, we see both terms used in different countries, are mitigations that are made not necessarily to achieve the desired level of safety, but as additional steps which are taken because they can be taken. Those two should really be separated out in the final analysis of whether you have or have not met the level of safety that you were trying. The undesirable safety outcomes of a particular system that is under investigation have to be determined along with what their effects are, the severity and the probability. I'll come on to that in just a moment. But to continue the flowchart that's here, once they are evaluated and shown to be, with the existing mitigations, safe enough, you can continue. If not, you have to go back in, consider new mitigations and reassess them against the risk matrix for severity and probability. The last part of the flow diagram is very important. The whole system has to be documented. It needs careful documentation to show what was in scope, what was out of scope, which hazards were taken, what the evaluation was, which mitigations were applied, so that there is an active record of how one achieved the decision to either go ahead or to not go ahead with a particular project. Now, the ICAO 5x5 risk matrix, and I'm not going to spend much time on this, it should be familiar to anyone working in safety, other than to mention a couple of things, and that is the definitions of what the three colors mean, often ignored. Red is absolutely no-go. Yellow, mitigations should be considered, or it requires a higher level decision than those proposing a particular scenario or setup can make. So this is then something that goes to the company's board. This is something you have to offer as acceptable to the authority. And it's up to then to a higher organization or higher level in your organization to make that determination. Green is acceptable, good to go. But again, don't forget, ALARP may still mean that you want to take additional safety mitigations and safety measures. Now, when we run workshops with the risk matrix I just showed you, we tend not to show people the actual matrix. We let them determine the severity and the probability based either on something quantitative, if we've got it, if it's appropriate, and if it's qualitative, we'll use something like the examples as I said here, something that permits them to refer it to their actual experience. Now, the reason we don't tend to show delegates the risk matrix is just to avoid the temptation to, and it's a human thing, at the end of a long workshop, suddenly think that something should be in the red, but I'm really going to just put it in the yellow now because I'm tired. It's not a criticism of anyone. We've all done it. We're all tempted to do it. But not referring to the table, but referring to the criteria is the best way of getting a neutrally evaluated qualitative result. Now, the Irm table, and this is a busy table, you'll find it in the Safety Management Manual. It gets filled in. You'll see a couple of points here. The mitigations get color-coded. So in this particular example of the potentially collision with obstacles that had not been understood to have been a problem, but on second review were a problem, collision with an aircraft leading to a catastrophic accident has to be read every time. However, we've evaluated in this two conditions: running into the trees or just clipping them. Running into the trees was read, catastrophic. Clipping them was damage rather than guaranteeing an accident. In the column where you can see the note about the word nil, because it was not known, the safety problem, prior to the assessment, there were no additional mitigations to address this non-compliance. That's what nil means. There were probably plenty, well, this comes from an actual project, there are plenty of mitigations in place, but not specifically related to a non-compliant obstacle at that particular location on the airport. So it's marked as nil. The additional mitigations, and here they come, well, in this case it's quite simple. It's managing the trees, removing them or cropping them and keeping them in a management program. That delivers not only a green result, but not applicable in the sense that the risk has been wholly eliminated. We don't need to apply one of the codes from the 5x5 matrix. Those were just a handful of tips and tricks about how to successfully run the FOSA methodology and some highlights out of a couple of recent FOSA workshops. I hope you found it interesting. If you're looking to contact 270, there is contact information for all of our offices around the world on our website, to70.com. Thanks for watching.